Hi, and welcome to the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast. I'm your host, Teighan Thompson. I'm a book lover, a chocoholic, and an INTJ living in a world filled with extroverts. I made this podcast to share my experiences and struggles as an introverted perfectionist, and to bring the inner workings of an introvert's mind to introverts and extroverts alike. So grab a cup of tea and get comfortable. It's time to unmute. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast. I hope you've all been enjoying the first week to 2021. This week I want to do something a little different and discuss my experiences I've had during the pandemic as an introvert. And this is because I know a lot of people coming into 2021 were like, we're leaving 2020 behind. And maybe you thought that was the pandemic as well, and then you realize that that's not true, and we're still living it 100% every day. This episode might be a little shorter, and that's just because it's been a long week for a lot of people, and with the coming back, going to work and school and stuff after all the holidays. And I just want to recognize that the pandemic and 2020 was very difficult for some people. There's a lot of people who lost their jobs, or lost loved ones, and that is really hard, and I really cannot even imagine how that would feel. But if that is you, I hope you've been finding ways to take care of yourself, if that's just relaxing or talking to friends or family on Zoom, maybe journaling or talking to someone else, or whatever you're doing. I hope that you're taking care of yourself. And I also hope that people were able to find some good in 2020 and also be able to look forward to this year and look forward to the good things that this year is going to bring. So I started off this pandemic by discovering that my lifestyle is called quarantining. And I always joked with my sister that I rarely ever get sick, but she always gets sick. And I was always like, well, that's because you have a really bad immune system. And mine's really, really good, right? But maybe that's because I'm introverted and I don't go out, and so I don't pick up all the germs that she does. And oddly enough, she hasn't gotten sick much since we've started quarantining, so maybe I'm onto something there, maybe I'm not, I don't know. But if you're an introvert and you don't get sick very often, let me know. But yeah, my day-to-day lifestyle and kind of just my comfort zone was always judged in the past because I didn't like to go out very often. I didn't want to be around people, and my family would always be like, just step outside of your box a little bit, Teighan, and go enjoy hanging out with friends. And I'm like, but I just want to stay home and be alone and read a book or something. But now, because of the pandemic, doing that is completely socially acceptable. In fact, it's not only socially acceptable, but it's expected that you stay home as often as you can. And honestly, it feels like I was born for this, and I love it. I also love that I can use the pandemic as a valid excuse to get out of or cancel social events or situations or meetings that were meant to take place in person, which I absolutely love. But the pandemic hasn't only just changed how people interact with people, and how often they're home. It's also changed a couple other things that maybe people don't focus as much on, but are definitely big in my life. One of those things are masks, and I know everyone wears masks. Hopefully you're wearing a mask, but everyone is wearing those masks and they recognize they're wearing the mask. Sometimes I forget that we didn't used to do that sometimes, but I love masks, and it might sound a little weird, but I love that I can just like skip out on those really half smiles that are super awkward when you pass by people in like a store or something that you don't know, and you make eye contact with them and you don't want to just like ignore them because that feels rude, and so you like kind of like half smile and say hey or something. It's really awkward, and now you don't have to do that because like they can't even see a smile if you smiled at them, so it doesn't even matter. And also, when I'm wearing my mask and other people are wearing their masks, I can pretend like I don't recognize people. And I love this, especially when I'm not in the mood to talk, which happens often since I'm introverted. And I've done this a couple times, and I felt bad afterwards, but at the same time I was like, I didn't want to do it. I was going to feel bad anyways afterwards, so I might as well feel bad and do what I wanted to do instead of not what I wanted to do. Another thing is handshakes. You don't shake people's hands anymore, and I also love that because I've hated having to touch other people's hands. Sometimes they're like really warm, or they're like moist, or they're super dry. I don't know, but I hate touching other people's hands. And like, we don't have to do that anymore because obviously COVID-19 pandemic, and we don't want to transmit the virus. But I absolutely love that, and I don't know if other people have noticed that we don't have to do that anymore, but I've definitely picked up on that. Another thing is I can meet with new people over a computer screen rather than in person. And I love this because it removes the pressure and anxiety and fear that I have when I first meet someone in person, because I've already met them, but it was over a computer screen, so there was like less of that pressure. Like, for example, I just started a new job, and I got interviewed through Zoom. I met my supervisor through Zoom, and when I went in for my job on the first day, I had way less anxiety about it because I had already met my supervisor and I felt comfortable already because we kind of had established that connection. And so that was really, really nice, and I love that now. And I wish that had always been a thing. Another thing is working or doing school online. And I know a lot of people are going to say they don't like this, and I totally understand. I'm just saying, from my opinion, I absolutely loved finishing school online because there's no commuting. You don't have to drive, you don't have to walk anywhere. You can just roll out of your bed a couple minutes before class starts and join the class. And it was amazing, especially since I had an 8 o'clock class twice a week. And I'm not a morning person, so it was really nice to like not have to be able to like walk to class, and I could just roll out of bed, wake up at 7:55 and be ready. And it also saves time because you're not commuting, but also it feels like now we have more time in our day, which I love because I've always felt like I've had so much I need to do and so little time to do it, and now I feel like I have so much more time. And I haven't made it easier on myself because I've just tried to shove more things into the day, and so I still feel like I don't have enough time, but definitely if you're still doing the same amount of stuff, it feels like you have more time in your day and you can get more stuff done, and I love that. And the best part is being on Zoom and you literally just have to wear a nice shirt. You don't need to wear nice pants. I wear sweatpants. I love my sweatpants. I wear fuzzy socks. I wrap a blanket around me if I'm cold. And I love it because no one cares about my bottom half. I just need to wear a nice shirt. And that's literally the best part because I hate throwing on jeans or work pants that are way less comfortable. But like most importantly for me, that what I've learned through this pandemic is that how the world functions now is the type of world that I function best in. And this is probably said for a lot of introverts. I said at the beginning of the pandemic, introverts could probably take over the world right now if they wanted to, but we're all too busy hiding alone in our rooms or reading books or something to actually go out and do it. But honestly, I feel like I've really been thriving during the pandemic, and I want to say that as humbly as possible because, like I said earlier, a lot of people had a hard year in 2020, and I recognize that, and I don't want to sound like I'm being prideful or anything. But in 2020, I accomplished so many of the goals that I had set for myself, and it was absolutely amazing. Some of those things were like graduating early, finding a job I love, starting this podcast. I started writing my novel, and so many other things. And all these things were like things that I was pushing off. But now I have the time and the place to do it, and I feel comfortable doing it in this environment. So I really have loved that so much. Another thing for me that's been really big is I've gotten kind of my mental and spiritual health to a really good place, which is something I hadn't ever really done or focused on much in the past. And I'm just going to be really open because it's really good to be open. So I'm a Christian, for those of you who don't know, but since 2018, I kind of really been struggling with my mental health, and that started affecting other areas of my life, such as academics, relationships, and one of the big things was my relationship with God. And I kind of fell away from my faith, and that's stuck with me throughout all of 2019 pretty much. And 2020 was the year that I took it upon myself to focus on myself and to get myself into a place that I was happy and comfortable being at. And so 2020 was a really big year for me in terms of that. And if you have not taken the time to focus on yourself, I really encourage you to take that time because it is so important. Just to find your values, to find things that you enjoy doing, to find the things that make you happy during the day and things that maybe frustrate you or trigger you, in learning about yourself, because when you learn about yourself, you're able to understand yourself and you're able to say no to things that you know are not good for you and put yourself and surround yourself with all the good things for you. So I really encourage you to do that if you have not done that. So yeah, the pandemic has been different. It's something you probably won't have to live through again, but also something that I get to say that I lived through. So that's kind of cool if you look at it from that perspective. I'm definitely dreading we have to get together soon when the pandemic ends, because I've been loving having this quiet time to myself. And it's not because I don't like people or I don't like the people saying we should get together. It's just because I I get socially exhausted. I like having my own time. I like staying at home and not going out and all of that. But yeah, so there's like previously a lot of negative connotations and stigma surrounding being introverted, and I've really loved watching how people have started recognizing a lot of the good qualities of being introverted that the pandemic has allowed to kind of shine through. And I think it's just so important to stay true to yourself. Before, people were like, being introverted is not a good thing. In order to survive and climb up the social ladder and blah blah blah, you need to be extroverted. But now all the introverts are living their best lives because this is exactly the life they like to live, and nobody thought that, oh, a pandemic's gonna happen, you need to be introverted for that. But here we are, and the introverts kind of have an upper hand, if I'm gonna be honest. So, yeah, just stay true to yourself. And that's for everyone, not just if you're introverted. If you're extroverted, stay true to yourself as well. Don't try to make yourself introverted, because I've seen extroverts try to do that, and it's, oh my goodness, they can't do it. Just stay true to yourself. Don't let people change your perception or change how you think of yourself, because you are unique. And that's what makes the world go round. So, yeah. So thank you so much for joining me and listening to this week's episode of the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast. If you wish to stay up to date about future episodes or anything else, please go ahead and follow my social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram. The username for both of those is the Heart of a Perfectionist. And if you enjoyed this episode or you learned anything today, please share it with a friend or someone you know. And as always, please have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again next week on the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast.